Hey people, today, no hair today, no outfit. I did that for a specific reason. That, as you can see the video, that was me shooting a video. I haven't put that outfit on since last year, since I got it for last year. Wore it to Mary's concert. Uh, Tonight, was actually even planning on getting on here. I was actually having a conversation, which is how these topics come about. I was talking to my spirit guides about telling your story. I was thinking about how I wrote my story and not a single name was mentioned in there. And I wanted to share that with people who struggle to tell their stories. When they're telling something that happened to them, they like to say, well, I'm not going to mention no names. I don't want to say their names for whatever reason. Either they're scared that it's going to bring up some controversy, or bring the person back into their life. It will cause something. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't say their name, you're keeping yourself attached to them, honestly. But if you're really just wanting to tell your story without involving anybody specifically, then you can tell it. Like when I wrote my book, I focused more on the situations, and then I would use pronouns she or he, him or they or whatever, because it wasn't about them. It wasn't a let me tell all type of deal. It was about let me tell you who I am. Let me tell you what I experienced. And the way to do that is by focusing on me. Oh, okay, that's the topic. I couldn't get the name that we was calling it. Excuse me, we was calling it self-mastery. That's how this got started. I said that the way I ended up becoming a master of self is by focusing on me. So every situation that I was ever in, anything I've ever experienced, it was firsthand, like, oh, I never had that happen to me before. Somebody showed me how they lie. And I'm like, oh, okay. So instead of trying to go back at them, I take whatever was done to me and I go in and I say, okay, see, I have to see how that works. So when I started learning about narcissists and how people, deflect, and I learned all these psychology terms to put names to what was happening. But in truth, all I did was go back in my own space and I said, okay, this person showed me how people respond when they're lying, or this person showed me what they mean. I don't know how to describe the situations, but whatever it was that I picked up, I always went back and said, they were able to do that because of me. I gave them access in one way or another. So either I gave them something, I allowed them too close in my life to learn my behaviors, I gave them access to something that they were able to use against me. Like when you confide in people and you tell them all your deepest secrets, and then when y'all not friends no more, y'all not cool, they go and tell everybody what you told them and stuff. And see, I was never into that. I was like, that's cold. I don't care if we don't ever talk again. I will never tell what you told me, because at one point we shared something special, and if we ever share something special, that's forever in my heart. You may not be in my life, but that memory of what we share will always be there, because I cherish relationships. Excuse me. Whether they stay intact or they fall apart, I cherish relationships. I cherish personal conversations, and most of all, I cherish sacredness. I'm with the divine. Where everything in my life is about sacredness, quiet. Keep things under wraps until you know it's okay to share it or show it, because people show you what they will do with it. When they say throw your pearls to swine, everybody is not able to handle death. Some people think it's a joke when you tell personal things. So going back to self-mastery, I always said nobody can't do anything to me that I don't allow them to do. And so I take accountability for everything that has happened in my life, but I also know how to separate what I did or what I didn't do versus what they did and what they didn't do. So that way it's a clear line between what I need to work on and what I need to watch out for. So you see the difference. When you holding up boundaries, you don't need to be guarded. So boundaries help you to stay in your lane, but it also allows other people to come in. And so when I learned how to set boundaries, I freed myself. So instead of being guarded, looking at everybody like, yeah, everybody's liars or everybody's going to hurt me and everybody, nah, I don't think that. I think majority of people unintentionally do it, yeah, because they don't know no better. You know, that's what makes me a meta being and others human beings. And then there's sub beings. There are those who have higher level of understanding. You can see beyond circumstances and see the truth in it. You know, so when you reach that level, you can't be the victim anymore. They hurt me, they did this, they did that. Yes, they did, but what did you learn from it? Now, as a child getting molested or, you know, something happened to you in your childhood, you can't control that. But it's always something you can learn from that. You know, and instead of carrying that and saying all these people hurt you when you were younger, you now take that power back and say, what did I learn from that? How can I move forward now to make sure I protect myself? How can I do things that I wasn't able to do back then? And when you start focusing on what you're able to do now, you become more of an I want to say emperor, but it's not emperor. You become empowered. You become empowered by what you are able to do now. And see, that's the difference too between being a human being and a meta being. The hue is supposed to bring you up higher. That's why it's hue. Hue brings you up to becoming meta. So your mind goes from being a being to seeing just whatever on the 3D, on this physical plane, to seeing higher. So that hue is taking you into meta consciousness. So the higher you go, you reach Christ consciousness. It allows you to work in forgiveness. That's where love and forgiveness and authenticity and peace and all that stuff comes through. It's not something you can just transfer into. We're born into a sinful world. We're born into a place where that's all we know. So when we get an opportunity to experience something that negatively affects us, it gives us an opportunity to transform that, transmit it, to overcome it. And so that's what I was saying with my writing. When I wrote my book, it was not about telling what people did to me. It was about what happened and how I used that information and became better and better over time. So whatever hurt me in the beginning, it can't hurt me now. Whatever I didn't realize in the beginning, I definitely know now. And when I started looking at people, I stopped looking at them as potential predators or whatever. I stopped being fearful of what they would do and know what I'm doing. So if you come at me, I'm ready. If you think you about to, I see you. And that's the mindset that I'm in. So it's guarded, but it's also open. You know, I know when to be guarded and get ready for some action, or to just chill, sit back and see my surroundings and be cool. And that's the balance of the masculine and feminine energy as well. Know when to jump up and get some stuff started, or know when to sit back and let things just take its course. Because no matter what happens to you, God's always got your back. Them angels is always ready. And them ancestors and the spirit guides, I mean, you got too much divine help to worry about getting back at people. Let them have that karma. Because what's going to happen is while they getting karma, you sitting back getting your justice. Whatever is taken from you is always going to be returned. Like I said before, I had a lot of stuff taken throughout my life. Physical stuff, emotional, mental, I mean, everything. But I never sat there and cried about my losses. I've always said, God's got my back. So I'm going to get better. I focus on healing. I focus on transforming. I focus on learning what I didn't know. So instead of looking at the world like, oh, what is this? And I'm like, yeah, I see that. Okay, I know what that is now. I'm in control. Self-mastery. It comes from learning self-awareness, self-worthiness, self-esteem. telling yourself you're beautiful, using affirmations, and then start believing it and start living in it. You know, it's one thing to tell yourself, I'm strong, I'm a conqueror, I'm this, I'm that, but do you really believe it? Are you really living in it? Every time you think about your past traumas, are you a conqueror over those past traumas? Or are you just saying you're a conqueror and then you want to avoid the healing? No, if you're a conqueror, go back and look at what happened to you and say, yeah, that happened to me, but it wouldn't happen again. And I'm not going to let it happen to somebody else. That's also the key to success. When you take your situation and you overcome what you've been through, and then you go and become an advocate for someone else, that puts you in a leadership role, which also puts you in a more confident position. So what I would say is, when you want to tell your story, tell it, but tell it from a place of power. This is what I've been through. This is what happened, but this is what I learned from it. So you take the focus off of who did it, because they already dealing with their own. They got to answer to God for whatever they've done. So you put it in perspective so somebody else can understand what they're going through. So I tell you, I've experienced X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to sit and trauma bond with you. Yeah, girl, my man did the same thing to me. And boo, 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 boo. What we doing here? We just swapping stories. I don't need to talk about what happened to me so we can go back and forth and share that. No, I'm telling you what happened to me so you can know what I did when you seeing me out there looking good. And you're like, damn, what's she doing? Minding my business, standing in my power. And I'm not talking about it, getting on this social media talking about, yeah, I do my self-healing rituals, and I don't do that. If I tell you what I'm working on, that's so that you can know that that's an additive to the inner work that I've already done. See, I focus on the inner more so than the outer, because as within, so without. So whatever I tell you, it's all from internal work, what I've experienced and how I've learned to perceive it from a higher perspective. So instead of seeing one thing as just 3D, I now see it 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 dimensions, whatever level I need to go, as high as I can go there. That's why I can relate to people on every level, from lowest to the highest, because I don't stay in one place. You can't hurt me with your words, because I know what's behind that. You're hurt. You need a hug. You know, while you cussing me out, you need the hug. You need to go heal the mother wounds and them father wounds. And that doesn't actually have to just be your mother and father. When they say your mother and father wounds, that's the masculine and feminine energies that comes from generations and lifetimes prior to this one. It could be something that you came back to earth to learn specifically in that energy, which is also why we incarnate in male and female bodies. See, people so worried about genders and stuff, they don't know that your mission may require you to be a woman in this lifetime. Your mission may require you to be white in this lifetime. You don't know why you're incarnated in the body that you're in. This is just the avatar. The soul is what needs to learn the lessons. And so that's a whole nother story. Again, I always intertwine one thing with another. But the point of this message